Welcome to Godly Ascendance Podcast, a platform where we give you insightful godly wisdom so you can rise, lead, and dominate. We would love to hear from you. Leave a comment or send us a voice note on WhatsApp at +265 887 115 964. Here are some amazing comments from our previous episodes.
Mulibwanji, thank you so much for this opportunity to give you feedback. My name is Wezi. I was listening to this podcast from Manchester in the United Kingdom. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I really enjoyed your podcast on Be Wise. What stood out for me was I'm learning to categorize myself correctly from the examples that you gave us of the 4 boys that went to the lake. I think it's important for us to not just fall into the category of those people that have things happen to them by luck, by the mere share of you finding yourself at the right place, even though you had no knowledge or wisdom of what you were doing, but that we need to be proactive, learn, read, study, and be wise. And mostly because you said, as the Bible says, that wisdom, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So thank you for that enlightenment. Thank you for your podcast. You're doing amazing things. Can't wait to hear more from you.
Now, enjoy today's episode with Mkali.
Hi, Mulibwanji. Thanks for the feedback. We love to hear from you. Please share those voice notes and a greeting in your local language and let us know your roots. All right. In this week's podcast, I'll be sharing on a topic that I've entitled Building a Valuable Skill. Value refers to the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Your value is delivered from 2 important factors: the investment that you make towards your products and services and the amount of demand for your products and services by the society or customers. Meaning to say, you can have an exceptional service or product, but if nobody is not in demand for it, you will still be valueless until at a time that your products and services are in demand. In other words, value is like a price tag on your product and services. When demand is high, the price tends to rise. This is because many people are willing to pay a higher price to get the product or service, and suppliers can charge more due to the strong demand. Think of it like a popular concert ticket. If lots of people want to attend, the price of tickets might go up because people are willing to pay more to get in. The value you have is directly proportional to the demand of your service or products, driven by the investment that you make to them. If a company develops a product that the society does not need, it can surely go bankrupt. Because even for a company, its value on the market is directly proportional to the demand that is placed upon its product and services. For example, NVIDIA started developing AI chips in the 90s, and for many years it looked like their product was useless, to the point that it almost went bankrupt. But today, with the rise in the use of AI, as I'm making this podcast, NVIDIA has become the most valuable company in the world and the first to hit $4 trillion, beating Apple as the most valuable company in the world. The major drive is not just their chips, but rather the demand for their chips. With the rise in AI usage, the companies in AI industries are ready to pay any price to get their chips. On the other hand, NVIDIA continues to invest more in building the excellent products. As a person, your demand is directly proportional to how much you can contribute with your skill or talent to your community or environment. Let's take, for example, a medical doctor. Before being allowed to practice, he or she has to go through internship where a senior doctor monitors their work. At this stage, their service is not in demand. Then they move to the next level after investing in internship to becoming a general doctor, and at this point, their services are demanded at a general level. But then they make a further investment to become a specialist, let's say a cardiologist. At this level, people are willing to pay a huge payment for their service because they have now invested more in their services, hence becoming more valuable. This is true for all the champions that we admire. We only see a small portion of their skill that they have been investing in the past or behind the scenes. Next time, before you envy or try to be like them, ask yourself if you have what it takes to put in the work like they do. In life, you do not attract what you want, but who you are. If you don't like your paycheck, don't be mad at your boss. Invest more in your skill. As a business, don't rush to blame the economy or politicians. Rather, work on building the best products that are highly sought after. In this podcast, I want to share with you a few points on how you can become more valuable as an individual. As I share this podcast, just last year alone, I invested in reading over 50 books and hundreds of hours in listening to other podcasts and countless meetings with my coach and mentors. For every example we give in this podcast is not guesswork, but rather well-researched. When recording, there are many takes and cuts. I have a team who will not allow me escape wrong pronunciations or grammatical errors. My team does not allow me to record without them around. All this work we put in is to make sure that this podcast is valuable and that we are able to reach the world with empowering ideas on how people can rise, lead, and dominate. All right, here are some ideas for building valuable skills. Number 1, invest in your skills to increase value. Proverbs 22 verse 29 states, "Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." A skill, by definition, is an ability or expertise that a person develops through practice, training, or experience. When you are skilled, you are highly in demand. Your value goes up. That only kings can afford you. The kings represent the high-paying clients in a society. How much you are receiving now represents how much you are skilled. If you don't like your paycheck, invest in your skill. When it comes to golf, Jack Williams Nicholas, nicknamed the Golden Bear, he is considered the greatest golfer of all times. He won 117 professional tournaments in his career. He is now a retired professional golfer. Let's talk about the current great golfer in our time, Edric Tont Tiger Woods, because his skill made him to become the first billionaire in golf. What I want to bring to your attention is the fact that it is reported in his prime, Tiger Woods was known for his intense practice schedule, often spending 10 to 12 hours per day dedicated to honing his golf game. The first thing I taught Tiger, aside from the love of the game of golf, was the love of practice. Elwood, his father, once said, "All the champions that we admire have the common story of intense practice behind the scenes, and we celebrate and demand their services when they show us part of what they do behind the scenes." Michael Jordan is widely recognized as the first athlete to become a billionaire. His practices were legendary for their intensity and focus. He was known for being the first one to arrive and last to leave, pushing himself and his teammates to the limits. Stories from his time at UNC and with the Bulls highlight his relentless work ethic, competitive spirit, and dedication to improvement. Today, if you make a choice, rather a dedication to improve your skill, you will definitely become more valuable and well celebrated in your career or business. Number 2, find the right audience that appreciates your skills. To be skilled is important, but with the wrong audience, your skill will definitely be considered useless and valueless. Sometimes the problem is not that you are not skilled, but you are in the wrong environment that does not appreciate your skill or talent. In 2007, the world-renowned violinist Joshua Bell conducted a social experiment at a metro station in Washington, D.C. Joshua Bell, probably the world's most skilled violinist, with a career spanning almost 3 decades, Grammy Award winning, is one of the most celebrated artists of his era. Bell, dressed in casual clothes, played his $3.5 million Stradivarius violin for 45 minutes, performing some of the most beautiful classical music ever written. Despite his exceptional talent, most people ignored him, with only a few stopping to listen. In fact, about 1,000 people passed by while he played, and only 7 people stopped to listen. There was never a crowd, not even for a second. 2 days before his experiment, Joshua Bell sold out a theater in Boston where the seats averaged $100 each to sit and listen to him play the same music. This social experiment clearly demonstrates that the value is determined by the audience and the environment. The people in the metro station were not ready to place a demand for his skill despite him being the most decorated artist, while at the same time, the audience in Boston were ready to pay more for the same skill. Hey, Wena, to just bring in the right perspective, I'm not giving you an excuse to flee your country. I'm encouraging you to find the right audience that will be willing to pay more for your skill. Number 3, create a perception of value by carrying your skill confidently. Sometimes we have the right audience, but we carry ourselves as if we carry low value skill, and the world treats us as such. I personally don't recommend the famous book by Robert Greene titled 48 Laws of Power, but for the sake of this point, I would like to recommend law number 34. Here is what Robert said in the book. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. The way you carry yourself will often determine how you are treated. In the long run, appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you. For a king respects himself and inspires the same sentiments in others. By acting regally and confident of your powers, you make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. End of quote. In 75 BC, Julius Caesar was traveling to Greece when he was kidnapped by Cilician pirates. They demanded a ransom from his family in exchange for his release. The pirates demanded a ransom of 50 talents. Caesar allegedly thought it was too low and suggested that they ask for more. According to the ancient Roman historian Plutarch, Caesar suggested that the pirates increased it to 100 talents. It is said that Julius deliberately raised his price so that he would be seen before the Roman Empire that he was the most valuable prince of his time. What Julius Caesar did is what today we call the Veblen effect, named after an economist, Thorstein Veblen. It describes a phenomenon where people perceive a product as more desirable or of higher quality simply because it's more expensive. If you follow the news, famous brands were busted during America and China trade war after Trump's tariffs that were imposed on China. When it was revealed that the most fashion brands that we celebrate and pay thousands of dollars only costed the Chinese factories about $100 to make them, which would in turn be sold by Royal American brands at a very high price. Why do these brands charge us more? Because they carry themselves as royal and expensive, and we believe them. It's now time that when people ask about your profession or skill, you start by saying, I'm an expert in so. Number 4, build a relationship with God for true fulfillment. Mark 8 verse 36 says, what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? This I'm putting it at last not because it's the least, but that you remember it more. You can build the most valuable skill and become a sought-after man or woman, but without God, there is no satisfaction or fulfillment. It's like standing on sinking sand. The best place to truly be valuable is when you build your relationship with God. Come on, comrade. If you get everything, then what next? What will happen to you in the next life? You surely need God. As I close this podcast, for you to build your valuable skill, invest in your skill, find the right audience, create a perception of a great value for your skill to your audience, and lastly, build a good relationship with God to have a true lasting fulfillment. I was your host, Mkali. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Remember to rise, lead, and dominate.
Thank you for listening to this podcast by Godly Ascendants. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share it with your loved ones and give us your feedback through our social media pages or write us an email at godlyascendants@gmail.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Mkali Group, Sipo Cell, and Beyond Bounds Physiotherapy Clinic.